the pace of change of technology is so rapid that you can't afford to wait for 5, 6, 10 years for things to be declassified before you learn your lessons. It may then be too late. It may then be too late. So this is in the tradition of hot wash-up. And next please. Yeah. Now I will be speculating from here. Yes, we all know what has happened in Ops Sindoor. Those 86 hours plus is known now to this audience in very thorough detail. What next is the critical issue. Operation Sindoor is not over. So what will Operation Sindoor 2.0 look like? What will your 6th round look like? Sindoor was the 5th round. I think these are very interesting questions of great concern to all of us, especially in this audience. So I'll take it on from there. Next please. The only bit of history that I'll give you from Sindoor is some comments by foreign experts. There is Colonel John Spencer of the Urban Warfare Expert, West Point. India achieved a massive victory. It demonstrated military superiority, restored deterrence and unveiled a new national security doctrine. The most important lesson to emerge from Ops Sindoor has been highlighted in this. In the third nuclear age, the efficiency of nuclear systems is in question against a modern, high-tech air defense environment. Please let it absorb, right? The Israelis started first with the Iron Dome, right? And the Iron Dome has achieved kill rates of almost 97 to 99% as far as Iranian missiles and drones were concerned. In Operation Sindoor, we have been able to achieve rates of 90% in terms of interception of the drones are concerned. Bayraktars, Baykar Shibas, etc., those cartoon networks we got from Turkey, right? But as far as the missiles were concerned, 3 missiles were fired, all 3 shot down, which amounts to 100%. Please, you see, and therefore, there is this movement, it's not just an Israeli Iron Dome. The United States is working on the Golden Dome. Why is it working on a Golden Dome? Because the entire thrust is that, look, any moderately armed nuclear power, let us say North Korea, let us say if Iran acquires that capability, Pakistan's nuclear arsenal, these are small arsenals. And if your air defenses are what they prove to be, you have a theoretical situation where you have a leak-proof umbrella. And that means the Pakistani nuclear threat goes up for a toss. Please understand this. It is not a very utopian concept. It is a concept that we have been able to actualize during Operation Sindoor. Next. There are some more of these. You can quickly glance through these. It offers a model of a limited war with clearly defined ends, matched ways and means, and a state that never relinquished the initiative in an age where many modern wars spiral into open-ended occupation or political confusion. Ops Sindoor stands apart. It's not we patting ourselves on our back. It is foreign military experts, objective experts who have made these evaluations. Next. Now we'll get on to the future. So when the next round comes, what will be the end result that you would like to impose, right? So let's take a brief look at how our responses have evolved. 1998, both countries went overtly nuclear. Recessed nuclear deterrence had come by 1990. Overtly nuclear, you went by 1998, right? And the next year there was the Kargil war, right? Let me also explain to you that when, the Americans had exploded the first bomb over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 45, 49, the Soviets had caught up, gotten, strategic parity, nuclear parity. 50, the Korean War took place. You see the correlation. The most unstable time is just immediately after nuclearization, right? And therefore, for a time, when this happened, the American think tanks and all, they came to us and told us, look, you are now a nuclear power, you will have to be very responsible, you will have to be very, very, constrained. And they sold to our leadership then a kind of a concept, look, there is no question that when India and Pakistan are both nuclear power, that they get into a conflict. And the Pakistanis exploited this to the hilt. Messrs. Parvez Musharraf and gang have exploited it to the hilt. For the past 30 to 40 years, you have had your response till 2014 was zilch, right? And then our response, that military aviation historian Tom Cooper has asked, which country does nothing when its parliament is attacked? Answer, India. Which country does nothing when 175 citizens are killed in broad daylight in Mumbai? India. I'm sorry, that was the state. So very timorously we started probing. When this government came, they started talking in terms of a proactive response, not confined to consequence management on the own side of the border. Not firefighting in your own area, but hitting across. The first thing, shot across the bow, 2016. 4 special forces units going 2 to 3 kilometers inside, killing 40. The problem was, the targets that we chose were quite obviously not in the populated areas, far from the media. And Pakistan had an excuse to deny kuch hua hi nahi. You see, the syndrome is called Jungle mein mor nacha, kisi ne na dekha. So they just denied, plain denial. Nahi hua, kuch nahi kiya. Then of course, 2019, we used air power. 80 kilometers inside, we hit the training camp, right? We hit the training camp and 200 odd terrorists were killed. Again, a remote location, Jungle mein mor nacha. And the denials came more from our opposition. You see, the political opposition, I mean, every democracy, when you get into a fight with another country, then we are all on the same side. But unfortunately, we have a tendency here for the political opposition to carry the narrative of the opposite side. So, that was a bit, quite a bit of an embarrassment. But some lessons had been learned, right? Now, let's get a few terms right. There is deterrence by denial. Unfortunately, deterrence by denial means you create such military strength, such overmatching military technological capability that the enemy does not dare to trouble you, right? I'm afraid we were never able to do that even till date. We haven't achieved overmatching military technological capabilities even over Pakistan. We have failed. It's only now that we are started to catch up and exceed, right? Deterrence by punishment is what you have done in Operation Sindoor, right? Now, I want to tell you one very basic fact. When you talk of what will we do next, what is deterrence? Deterrence is preventing somebody from taking a hostile action or undesired action. Sir, may I put it to you, कि ये जो last 30 to 40 years, the Pakistani terrorism has been continuing unabated. 1980s Punjab, 1990 onwards J&K, then the Indian Mujahideen all over the country. About 81,000 Indian citizens have been killed by the Pakistani terrorist offensives, right? So, you are beyond deterrence. If we talk of deterrence, in pure military terminology, I'm sorry, you are barking up the wrong tree. You see, deterrence to khatam ho gayi na, sahab. You have not been able to deter. Get this right. You have not been able to deter. So what do we have to do? The next term is coercion and compellence. Coercion. You know, the threatened use of force, including actual use of force. The last time we tried coercion was Operation Parakram. But then you did nothing. We postured, खुद ही माइन लगा लिए, खुद ही अपने नुकसान कराया, but we did nothing. Even when Kaluchak took place, you remember that? So it was ineffectual, right? And there was then a kind of a mindset in the national security echelons, this is wasteful of resources. So let's go for small operations. That is why the shot across the bow 2016, 2019 was small scale. Small scale probes. But now with Operation Sindoor, we are clear. ये जो nuclear threshold that was pegged at ridiculously low levels in South Asia, बहुत elasticity है साहब, बहुत elasticity है. And the best part is, please look at the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Almost getting on to 4 years, non-stop. They have the largest nuclear arsenal, over 6,000 weapons. Have you seen one being used? And just by the way, Kargil lasted for 3 months. Did you see one nuke being used? So, for far too long, we have been taken for a ride. And what the Prime Minister told you in this speech, the day this operation concluded, this nuclear blackmail tamasha is now over, right? So the stage of deterrence is well past. India has no option but to compel Pakistan. Get this end state right. You have to compel, and compellence requires a hell of a lot of military force. Tokenism will not do. कि साहब मैंने यहाँ गुदगुदी कर दी, उसने यहाँ गुदगुदी कर, ये चोंचलेबाजी नहीं चलेगी. Next. Right? Now, let me, I was commissioned in 71, 1 month before the war. We are the born to battle batch. So we took part in that war. Then 1971, India had faced a dangerous security situation. Now, that is the time we acted in a very proactive and offensive manner, despite massive American and Chinese military support. Despite the 7th Fleet coming into the Bay of Bengal, we broke Pakistan in two. It was a decisive war. How do you define a decisive war? March on an enemy capital, regime change, mass surrender of prisoners. You can tick all 3 boxes for 1971 war. It was a quasi-total war, not limited, quasi-total war, right? And we were able to achieve decisive outcomes. Now with recent American and Pakistani interventions in our periphery, the entire security restructuring that we had done in 1971 has been undone. Period. Has been undone. And you will have to restructure South Asian security, your preeminence. You know, we used to say that the Chinese have got us in a string of pearls. I'm sorry, our American friends have put us in a ring of fire. Sri Lanka, colored revolution. Bangladesh, colored revolution. Nepal, colored revolution. Ladakh, heading to, looks like a colored revolution. So, and all the CIA has been collaborating very bluntly with the ISI, Jamaat-e-Islami. I mean, they are the same cadres who were supplying women to the Pakistan army when we were fighting. They are back in play. You are not in a 2.5 front war anymore. Sir, you are in a 3.5 front war. You know, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and of course the familiar internal front. So there is a dire need to act proactively and repeat 1971 despite a nuclear backdrop. Next. Next, please. Now, what is the strategic dilemma then? Why can't we do it? Very simple. In 1971, there was no nuclear backdrop. Now you have a nuclear backdrop, but we have been probing this nuclear threshold. 3 बार probe कर लिया है. And let me assure you, if the Russia-Ukraine war can go on for almost 4 years, I'm sorry, your next war with Pakistan could also, if not go on for 4 years, be far more ambitious in terms of the results that you want to achieve. We don't want to give a chance again कि जंगल में मोर नाचा किसी ने ना देखा. You see, and can that be done? Yes, that can be done. Operation Sindoor has shown us a way to negate the Pakistani nuclear threat by conventional military means. Not only defensive, not only a leak-proof missile shield, but also the attack on the 4 airfields from where the fighter bombers modified for nuclear toss bombing, Sargodha, Jacobabad, etc., Rahim Yar Khan, Rafiqi, they were all hit. Pakistan has only 2 nuclear delivery vectors, missiles, and the second is fighter bombers. They don't have a nuclear triad. That means theoretically, India could stymie, go for broke. You understand what I'm saying? Go for broke and still stymie his nuclear overhang. This bluff has been called, and next time it needs to be called decisively. Yes, sounds reckless, but I'm afraid there are lots of countries which are investing hard dollars in this kind of a leak-proof umbrella concept. It is not as far-fetched as we think. And Operation Sudarshan, the Sudarshan that we are planning, is the way to go. And also, there are speculations in the media, backed up by Maxar satellite photographs, despite what the Air Ops Air Marshal Tiwari said. We hit Kirana. We hit these storage sites. The weapons are in a demated condition most of the time. You hit the entrance doors of those tunnels, which are pretty heavy, steel, and they require electric motors. You knock out those electric motors, I'm afraid you can't take out those warheads. So there are a whole series of methodologies by which you can go hell for leather in the next round, and you should. Because the time to restructure continental security is upon us. So we need to decide, based on the lessons of Ops Sindoor, what kind of a limited war will we have to fight in Ops Sindoor 2.0 that could lead to decisive outcomes, right? I'm deliberately trying to challenge this group of military leaders here, right? Next, please. What's a limited war? What are the limitations in war? This is straight from Brody, limited war theory. You limit a war in space or area of coverage. You say, we'll only go for J&K, we'll only go for POK, we'll only go for Gilgit-Baltistan, but get decisive results. That means at the end of it, Pakistan will not be able to say, hum ladai jeet gaye, or start doing the bhangdas that they have done again this time. But just by the way, when we were fighting in 71, and when the surrender was taking place in Dhaka, Pakistan claimed that it was a victory. So I wouldn't lay too much store by Pakistani claims, but you have to do something where the results are evident to the whole world, including to the Pakistani population. So limitations in the time dimension. In 71 war, the only limitation we took on was time. Because the Russian friends were telling us, jaldi karo, jaldi karo, jaldi karo. We can't hold the veto in the UN Security Council. So we did it in 13 days. 550 kilometers inside Bangladesh from 3 directions. Right? Kyiv is 110, by the way. We went in 550 kilometers in one of the most defensible terrains of the world, and 93,000 prisoners of war had surrendered. Limitations in aim, objectives and scope, limitations in weapon usage, but the prime limitation is no use of nuclear weapons. We have a no first use policy. You can debate whether you want to continue or otherwise, but we have a no first use policy. China has a no first use policy. Right? Next, please. Now, this is a very interesting graph. It shows you the number of divisions that India has used in each war since 1947. Immediately 47-48 J&K operations, about 3 divisions were involved. 62, again about 3 divisions were involved. No Air Force. 47-48 we used the Air Force. 62 we eschewed the use of the Air Force offensive air support. Absolutely. Biggest blunder. 65, 12 divisions are involved. The entire Western Air Command is involved, committed. 71, 19 divisions saw combat, actual combat. The entire Air Force, the entire Navy was used, and that is why I don't call it a limited war, I call it a quasi-total war, right? By Sri Lanka, 1987, you are down to 4 divisions. Kargil, you are down to 2 divisions, plus a lot of milked artillery from the strike formations. I was in the MO directorate when we pushed up those multi-barrel Grad rockets and the Bofors up to Kargil. So, 2 divisions, Air Force involved, Navy deployed, not employed, right? So, thereafter, 2001, 2002, Parakram, 0. Next you come on to your Mumbai, 0. And now we've hit back primarily with the Air Force and drone-centric war. You must remember this graph of non-use of your military strength. Because there is a serious lesson to be. It's no point having military strength if your usage is going to get down to a cipher. Right? Ops Sindoor has shown you the way that we were self-deterred for far too long. It's now time to give it back, because Pakistan is deliberately creating problems. Through the Bangladesh, it's trying to get into that cookie land kind of a tamasha. The Ulfa has started attacks again. Pakistan has a lot to answer for. We don't have to necessarily wait for another Pahalgam. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Pakistan ke ghada paapon ka bhara hua hai. It has done enough to cause you problems. And if you don't hit back, if you just wait, very pathetically to be hit, I'm afraid you're not going to, be able to repeat 71. Next, please. Now, let's take a look at the Chinese concept of limited war. Or, there are many names that they use, local wars under informatization, etc., etc. But they also have the concept of limited war. I'm afraid in their concept of limited war, the force usage profile is very high. Take a look at Korea. 1 million troops were thrown across the Yalu. 52 to 55 divisions of the Chinese PLA went into Korea and fought the Americans to a standstill. And that is when America was a nuclear power. And that is when MacArthur was sacked for trying to suggest the use of nuclear weapons against the Chinese. Vietnam, 25 infantry divisions were used. Again, about 300,000 troops. Now, they learnt a few lessons themselves. But the simple fact is, साहब, उसके बाद Sino-Vietnam border पे कुछ नहीं हुआ है. कुछ नहीं हुआ है. He has been able to impose that deterrence. Taiwan, again, if the Americans and the Chinese, they are both nuclear powers. But the Chinese are prepared to throw in 300,000 troops for the initial invasion, and when push comes to shove and if America intervenes, and your anti-access area denial fails, well, then they could even put in up to 1 million troops in this conflict. And yet it is a limited war. They say we will not be the first to use nukes. Is there a lesson in us from this? Please give it serious thought. Is there a lesson in us for this? Yes, there is. That means the next time when we hit, we don't do chochlebazi. We hit to hit hurt, so that it hurts. And the hurt is visible to the rest of the world. Next, please. Now, when you talk of limited wars, incidentally, I was in teaching at the NDC when we had that academic council meeting headed by a legendary scholar warrior like Rear Admiral Raja Menon. So he asked what research is the faculty doing. So we all looked at one another because we were not doing any research. He said it's a bum faculty that does no research. Those are the clear words. So the commandant, since I was the senior most, turned to me. He said, GD, would you like to take on? So I started my research on limited wars in South Asia against a nuclear backdrop. Right? I was the first PhD from the NDC, and the recommendations then were that we had tried to put across was that air power is the best instrument for a limited war. Why? Aircraft can fly across national borders, geographical obstacles hit target deep inside. Highly calibrated escalation as well as disengagement control is possible. Any aircraft going even halfway can be called back. You can't do that with the army. Once a strike corps is launched, once your local offensives are launched, they get horribly mixed up and extricated. Pulling troops back is virtually impossible in a land conflict. Air power would be a prime asset in a limited war. It would set the stage for a larger conflict. Calibrated airstrikes would generally extract only air power responses. This has been fully justified in Ops Sindoor. We went in air specific, he responded air specific. He responded with drones, 1,200 drones to be more specific. And it's only when he was in a panic, when our S-400s made mincemeat out of that AVAC 316 kilometers inside, and then about 5 aircraft were shot down while trying to get to our airfields, and he stopped. That is when he turned to the missiles. 2 Fateh 2s were fired. 1 Shaheen 2 was fired. Shaheen 2 aimed at Delhi, Fateh 2 aimed at Delhi, 1 Fateh 2 aimed at Harmandir Sahib, Amritsar. Right? All 3 shot down over Sirsa. All 3 shot down. 100% interception rate. This will only improve. And if there were any doubts, I think we have also hit, as per the Maxar satellites, Kirana and possibly Chagai. So you can use offensive and defensive means to stymie the nuclear response, right? And please don't forget that air power sets the stage for the employment of the army and the navy. Once you gain air dominance, that is phase 1. And then you go in for the phase 2 once air superiority is gained. Next, please. Now, in terms of, you see, my heart bleeds for my naval colleagues. In terms of the power differential, the Indian Navy has the greatest power differential over Pakistan. Period. 1971, we've seen what these guys did. 4th of December, Navy Day, they had hit Karachi home base. 6 ships were sunk. The Karachi oil farm was put on fire so that it burned for 10 bloody days. And we had blockaded both East and West Pakistan. That's what the Navy has done. There is no proof of concept required. That's what they had done. And I don't know for what reason they were held back. And they were not utilized to pressurize. After all, even if we were attacking terrorist targets, Dawood Ibrahim has a bungalow in Karachi. And I thought that was the most logical target for the Navy to do. I'm sure that even the Raksha Mantri has assured you that the next time, you won't be held back. Next, please. Next. And this is that layered air defense. S-400s, MR-SAM, Barracades, Akash, Spider. And combined with the guns, the upgraded AD guns linked to our radar, which have made you Iron Dome, the Indian Iron Dome. And it is this that gives you the leeway to do serious damage the next time. Next, please. And lastly, because Baba Kalyani was here, I'd like to end with this. Ladies and gentlemen, I have done 2 tenures in the MO Directorate. My second tenure was from 1999 to 2000. At that stage, and actually this goes back earlier to General Sundarji's era. He wanted to buy 1,400 Bofors guns to mediumize our artillery, 1980s, right? 310 guns were purchased outright, and when they had to be manufactured in the country, we all know the shit hit the fan. And that was the end of our mediumization. When I was in the MO Directorate, sir, we had again taken up the plan to mediumize the artillery. I'm talking of 1999. The mediumization, standardization of the Indian artillery around the 155/52 caliber was done. And that lesson was reinforced. One of the major reasons for Kargil victory is the Bofors. Please, I have no damn doubt. The major reason was the Bofors, the throw weight of the Bofors, right? And the simple fact is that in the Russia-Ukraine war, as per ORSA studies, 45% of the tank kills have been inflicted by the medium artillery. You need the medium artillery. मैं retire हो गया हूँ साहब, 3 decades हो गई हैं, but we haven't still started getting our medium gun. Then we got our medium guns, and my please appeal to the people here. We got our own ATAGs, and this is a world beater design, man. We should feel so proud of it. 48 kilometers it can fire. Better than the American howitzer. The American howitzer fires 3 rounds a minute. This fires 5 rounds a minute. Right? This one fires 5 rounds a minute. And it has got an electrical system, as was just being told. But it has taken us 3 years to induct. And now that it has been inducted, we are told 310. Sir, we needed 1800s when I was in the MO Directorate. आपकी वो रिक्वायरमेंट तो बढ़ी गई होगी. आई एम टोल्ड कि इसका वेट बहुत ज़्यादा है. माई रिक्वेस्ट टू माई गनर फ्रेंड्स इज, it's not a modeling competition. We are not looking for anorexic models. Please. Right? We were told 19 to 21 tons, the weight is too bloody high. Right? If a 45-ton T-72 tank can operate in Ladakh and in the Sikkim plateau, if a 50-ton Vajra can operate in both the places, what's the problem with a 21-ton gun? नहीं साहब ये बहुत heavy है, हमने 14-15 कहा था. यार, we all know how GSQRs are set. वो glosses पढ़ो, उनको घुमाओ और summation कर लीजिए और वो करें. So let's not get into that. I'm sorry you have no time. You understand? Let me tell you as an old veteran, you guys don't have time. It could burst on your heads any day, sooner than you thought. So please don't get into telling the DRDO and the civilian sector to design another gun 14 to 15. हमारा GSQR वो कहता था. Right? Get this gun in numbers. You got a problem with your Air Force? You got a problem that instead of 45 squadrons, you are down to 29? Therefore, you need to build up your firepower if you want to get any concrete results like POK, Gilgit, Baltistan, Baluchistan, whatever. That is for the guys now in uniform to decide. I will not speculate on that. at least not in this open audience, right? But the simple fact is, sir, you have no time. You don't have the luxury of time. And let me also tell you that lady was defending the bureaucracy. She's not here. But the simple fact is, in the military, we have a bureaucracy which is as bad. Sorry. I have been part of that bureaucracy. So we have a bureaucracy which is as bad. So I think we need to now think big, set our sights high. I think this is enough of a provocation for most of the guys still wearing the uniform. Thank you so very much.